Last time on Swolelax.
Yo, what's up, boys and girls? Swolelax here, and I'm back at it again with my video with something just a little bit different. Today, have you ever forgotten something? Now, I know I'm extremely thorough on this channel, and I would never, ever forget something so simple or easy, and I can't remember a single time. Okay, so this video is going to be all about Elemental HERO Necroshade, and I already know what you're thinking. But why? While this initially started out as a gag and a running joke on my definitive Elemental Hero tier list, it actually started out being the perfect allegory for the Elemental Heroes. Now, throughout Yu-Gi-Oh's history, the Elemental Heroes have had an interesting history, if you will, and Elemental Hero Necroshade is kind of the antithesis of that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and discuss Elemental Hero Necroshade.
Elemental HERO Necroshade is a dark level 5 warrior effect monster that reads, once while this card is in the graveyard, one level 5 or higher Elemental Hero monster you normal summon can be summoned without tributing. It also has an attack of 1600 and a defense of 1800. Nothing really to say with this, to be honest. The effect is really straightforward. Though, interesting fact, this card has had 4 erratas, mainly for problem-solving card text purposes and to clean up some extra verbiage. But funny enough, when looking up this card, I actually fell into the Mandela effect, and it always assumed that this card just allowed you to normal summon Elemental Hero monsters level 5 or higher as long as it remained in the graveyard, and not just once. But hey, we'll just put that on the board. Even for its time, this effect is kind of underwhelming. There are other cards that did allow you to bypass level restriction, and on top of that, the attack and defense points of this monster made it really hard to justify playing in a hero strategy back in the day. But what is really interesting about this card is that it actually is extremely late to the party, and it was almost seen as a collector's item first rather than a card to play in the deck. The look, however, is also kind of perplexing. When you look at this card compared to the other Elemental Heroes of the time, the general theme and feel is just much more evil. Like the spiked accents and the red along with the graveyard effect make it much easier to be seen as an evil hero or destiny hero, at least in terms of its visual motifs and its function. Elemental HERO Necroshade was released in 2006 as a promotional card in the Game Boy Advance game Yu-Gi-Oh! GX Duel Academy. This paired with Wing Karibo and Hero Ring made it a nice collector's item that was sold exclusively through purchase of the game. In fact, we actually didn't see a wide release reprint until a year later in 2007 with the arrival of the Jaden Yuki starter deck. This was particularly interesting to note as the anime debuted this card in episode 28 of the GX dub in December of 2005. That is almost a 2 years difference from a widely available release. In addition to that, the main card you would use for this effect, Elemental Hero Blade Edge, was released shortly after the original wave of Elemental Hero support in November of 2005. This is such an odd gap in time, and the fact that it was released so out of place compared to its hero brethren and sisterin is a little bit of a head scratcher. In fact, despite this being part of the GX nostalgia and a key part to Jaden Yuki's deck, we have only ever seen a total of 6 printings of this card. After the 2007 release, we didn't see a reprint of this card until 4 years later, and even then, the last printing of this card was 5 years ago in the Hero Strike structure deck.
I bring these dates and printings up because for a card that is so iconic to a fan favorite archetype, it's so strange how we saw the releases and staggered printings as we did. But enough history and backstory, is this card actually worth it? Is this card actually good? Well, so there's this running history inside of Yu-Gi-Oh! That anime protagonist archetypes and cards are generally not that great. Sure, we have new Blue Eye support and Dark Magicians, but it took so long for those decks to be actually functioning. And heroes themselves are just a little bit different. Elemental Heroes themselves actually took quite a bit of time as well to get going. Elemental Hero Necroshade, however, by itself only has like 2 interactions though, with the Elemental Heroes Neos and Blade Edge, which if you know anything about the viability of those 2 cards, then you know that this is not that great. In addition to that, sure, you could set up with things like Foolish Burial to get some cool normal summon plays later, but why would you do that when you can just normal summon a normable summon Elemental Hero monster and gain a lot more value. I mean, worst case scenario, you could probably set up for some Miracle Fusion plays, which, hey, that's a great segue, Swolelax, into Necroshade fusions. Let's talk about those.
Elemental Hero Darkbright is a dark, level 6 warrior fusion effect monster that reads, must be fusion summoned and cannot be special summoned by other ways. If this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent. If this card attacks, change it to defense position at the end of the damage step. If this card is destroyed, target one monster your opponent controls, destroy that target. It also has an attack of 2,000 and a tiny booty of 1,000 defense points. Here's the TLDR for this card. It's not very good. Released in 2007, this card is a fusion of Sparkman and Necroshade, which in my opinion is really neat to see a fusion between these two. And I always wanted and always wished that we saw more fusion between different combinations of the Elemental Heroes. But I digress. Honestly, there's not a whole lot here outside of its aesthetic. This card's stats paired with its effects is really underwhelming. Pair that with the fact that it changes itself to defense after it attacks, well, honestly, you get more use out of things like Goblin Attack Force, which also doesn't require you to go -2 in card advantage. With Elemental Hero Necroid Shaman, however, things get a little confusing, so let's just read the effect and then explain it because it is driving me nuts. Elemental Hero Necroid Shaman is a dark, level 6 warrior fusion effect monster that reads, must be fusion summoned and cannot be special summoned by other ways. When this card is special summoned, target one monster your opponent controls, destroy that target. Then special summon one monster from your opponent's graveyard onto their side of the field. It also has an attack of 1900 and a defense of 1800. For its destruction effect alone, it isn't the worst thing. Spell removal on the Elemental Hero cards has always been good. But compared to other cards like Wild Wingman, Plasma Vice, and Thunder Giant, this card seems a little outclassed, especially because it relies on bringing back material from your opponent's graveyard. Now, I know what you're thinking. Swolelax, this is a little weird, but not that confusing. You said that this thing would be confusing. I was expecting to be confused. Where's the confusion? Okay, so follow me with this one. Elemental Hero Necroid Shaman was released in May of 2006 as a common inside of Enemy of Justice. All good so far. But it was released 4 months after the release of Necroshade in January of 2006. Which isn't a big deal until you realize, right, so if you haven't already guessed it, in order to play Necroid Shaman, you would have already had to buy the GX Academy game because the card was an exclusive to that. Wait 4 months and then buy Enemy of Justice. But Swolelax, what if I didn't want to buy the game? What if I didn't have the Game Boy Advance? No worries. You just have to wait an entire year for the Jade and Yuki Structure Deck to come out. So all in all, not only did you have to buy the GX Academy game, have the promotional card, buy Enemy of Justice, and if you didn't do that, you'd have to wait an entire year for the Jade and Yuki Structure Deck for a release. You see where I'm going crazy? Am I insane here? I don't usually mean to criticize, but come on. 2006 Konami, get your shit together. Jeez.
Overall, Necroshade and its fusions are really bad, and not necessarily that they're the worst things in the world. There are worse cards out there, but they're just not really worth it when you take into account the entire pool of Elemental Hero cards you could be playing. But like I said at the beginning of this video, you can actually use Necroshade as a model for how Konami is designing and improving upon the heroes in the near future. In fact, earlier Necroshade was even retrained into Evil Hero Sinister Necrom, and while this doesn't necessarily replace Necroshade, it is a great card that you can use as an extender and also as fusion material. Sinister Necrom is really cool because not only do I see it being used inside of an old school hero strategy, but also you can use it pretty well in a modern hero strategy today. And I think this is a really smart way to approach this and to redesign and revamp cards or to release legacy support for older archetypes. I mean, look at Thunder Dragons and how Konami approached those. And yes, again, even though Evil Hero Sinister Necrom doesn't necessarily replace Necroshade, it is really cool to see how Konami is pushing that boundary. And I'm really curious to know how they're going to revamp, redo, or maybe reapproach the Elemental Hero archetype in the future. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you guys like this video, make sure to leave a like. If you want some more, please subscribe. I got more videos coming down the pipeline, so stay tuned for that if you'd like to. And yeah, that's all I gotta say about this. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.